Well, it's August of 2024, and the national presidential campaign is one of joy versus despair. The side focusing on despair is losing ground, while the side focusing on joy is taking the lead. Now, I don't know how this will end, but it got me thinking about the way we advocate for the passion we're trying to turn into policy. So often we focus on the negative. This is bad, so let's change it before things get worse. In our desire to make sure people understand how bad a situation really is, we end up with a policy of despair and we lose the joy. But what happens when we look at this problem from a hopeful lens? Yes, things are bad, but now they'll get better when we make this change. Can we emphasize this joy and still win? That's what we'll find out on today's
Better Advocacy and 10-minute or less.
All right, first, we want to emphasize the positive while not losing sight of the pain point that's causing us to make this policy change. Yes, we still need to make people aware of what's causing the pain. Legislators aren't going to advance a new policy while not understanding the trouble caused by the existing policy or status quo. So show them the bad, but do it with examples of hope and joy. Is there a locality or state that has already implemented your policy? Show the good from those communities. Is there a person or business who beat the odds? Use their story to show the potential of what could happen with your policy change. You are still showing the pain point that needs to be changed, but instead of focusing on suffering, you're celebrating the possibilities of what can happen with your change. Now, when it comes to your relationships and advocacy, you want to approach people with a smile. Okay, maybe not a creepy smile like that, but you get the idea. Doesn't matter who they are, how much you disagree with them, or how rude they can be. Counter their disdain with respect. And you don't even need to show respect to the person, just respect the position. Be kind, be respectful, be warm. Treat them like you would like to be treated. Yeah, that old school golden rule stuff works. When you're meeting with other legislators, you attack the ideas, not your policy opponents. I can't tell you how many times we had liberal advocates come into my office when I worked for one of the most liberal delegates in Virginia, and they would trash talk a conservative legislator. Not their policies, but the actual person. Not realizing that my delegate was actually friends with them. The hyper-partisan media will tell you a different story, but the fact is, a lot of these legislators are friends with, or at least friendly towards, their counterparts on the other side of the aisle. When you treat people kindly and attack policies, not politicians, you're setting yourself up and your policy for success. But this is hard. You're passionate. How can I stay calm with people who disagree with me? Now, this is different for each person, and you have to figure out what works best for you. I know one very passionate advocate who just leaves the room when they know they can't keep their calm anymore. They say, "Excuse me," and walk away. Everyone else thinks they have a potty emergency. But I know if they'd been in that room any longer, they would have gone off at someone, and that would have totally killed our ability to advance our policy. Or maybe you can just focus on your points while you acknowledge and ignore what the other person is saying. You don't always need to win every policy discussion with a legislator. Sometimes you let them have their talking points, thank them for their time, and walk away. I don't know of a single elected official who ever changed their vote because an advocate or lobbyist yelled at them. And on that note, don't be a yelly, angry person. Make your movement, coalition, cause something people want to be a part of. Now, anarchist Emma Goldman once told a young activist something along the lines of, "If I can't dance, I don't want to be part of your revolution." Well, while I don't agree with Goldman's policies, I do agree with this proposition. No matter how difficult the topic you're trying to change is, you can find a way to make it joyful. And sometimes even with dancing. You see, a few years ago, Families Against Mandatory Minimums, FAM, was fighting to keep folks who had been furloughed from prison during COVID from being returned to prison. This is an emotional issue dealing with public safety and families and crime and punishment and, in this case, dancing. Yes, literal dancing. I went to their Pardon People Not Turkeys rally in DC around Thanksgiving, and we dressed in turkey hats and turkey costumes and danced around holding up signs saying, wait for it, pardon people, not turkeys. And you know what? No one had their furlough revoked. Now, was it all because of us dancing as turkeys? Of course not. But the spirit in that campaign that allowed for this happy event of dancing and celebrating was a spirit that focused on the joy of the reunified families and not the horrors of prison. What about your campaign? Is it one driven by joy and hope or fear and anger? What would it look like if you started focusing more on the hope than the fear? I'd love to hear about your experiences. Leave a comment below and I may feature it in a future
Better Advocacy in 10 minutes or less.